Hi everyone, and thanks for joining. Welcome to the second instalment of the Arum Approved System series that we've set up to give an insight into the journey that vendors take to go through their system becoming Arum accredited, along with a wider market view of their solution, the product roadmap, and to give some key insights into what's around the corner in the collection recoveries technology landscape. Throughout the series, we're going to explore and discuss a variety of different vendors who provide technology to support collections and recoveries, whether it be dedicated collection and recovery systems, communications platforms, self-service technology, risk and decisioning systems, and more. The idea is to bring an increased awareness of the capability available on the market by different technology vendors in collection recoveries, how it can be used, and what the future is looking like on a technology horizon for each vendor and their product roadmaps. We're going to keep these sessions interactive, so based on that, there'll be some polls popping throughout the sessions. And we'll revisit the responses towards the end of the session with a bit of discussion around these where time permits. Questions can also be asked through the session on the link on the side. What we're hoping from an Arum perspective is that these sessions with the wider vendor demonstrations of the product will give something back to the creditor community, allowing a more public forum to increase the awareness and knowledge of the vendors in the market, the products and the support throughout collection and recoveries that will help you in the future when looking to upgrade or implement your new technologies in your organization. For those who don't know Arum, we're an independent company headquartered in the UK, but with a client base spanning over 20 countries worldwide. We work across all industry sectors in B2C, B2B, offering services across the credit management lifecycle and have been for over 20 years. Our goal is to help our clients achieve their strategic objectives by improving their regulatory, credit risk and portfolio performance whilst maximising returns on their technology investments. We provide a blend of professional services, consulting and unrivaled knowledge across the collection and recovery software landscape, including benchmarking analysis across over 30 collections and recovery system vendors. As a little introduction to me personally, I'm Owen Atkinson. I'm a lead business and technology specialist within Arum, and I look after all of the Arum Approved accreditations, both in the systems and the services space. I've been with Arum for over 6.5 years, and I've been in collection recoveries over 15 years now, across numerous different industries, spanning a range of roles covering operational, credit risk, and systems management. In this instalment of the series, we're joined by Qualco, who went through the Arum Approved System review late 2020. And I'm joined today by Guy and Tim, who've kindly agreed to join us. Guy, would you like to provide a short intro to yourself, please?
Sure, yeah. My name is Guy Statter, Head of Software Sales for UK and Ireland for Qualco. I've been with the business about 2.5 years, but I've actually got about 20 years of working in solutions in financial services for organisations such as Salesforce, Experian, BAE, organisations like that.
Tim, would you like to give a quick introduction to yourself?
Hi all, I'm Tim Graham. I'm a solution design architect with Qualco. Been working with collection solutions for around 15 years. The other vendors such as Experian. I joined Qualco earlier this year to take on this new role.
Brilliant, thanks very much. So, to give you all a bit of a background on what the Arum Approved System is all about, basically we've developed the Arum Approved System with a view that vendors can have an impartial and independent route to benchmark their products through our team of industry experts. The programme assesses vendors' technology solutions against our core assessment categories within the collection recovery solution, which you can see on screen. And we've got a built-in scorecard behind the scenes to provide a view of how the system performs in each area. Overall, the vendors will receive a report with a key summary of the review, detail against each of the core capabilities that justify the scoring, along with key considerations, recommendations, and what we feel are priority areas for the vendor to focus on within their product development. The programme is designed to be agile and can flex to drill down on specific competencies if requested by vendors. Perhaps they want to vet unique selling points of their system, or conversely, think of areas that they already know they need further development in, or get an independent view from us on certain aspects of their capabilities of the system. Overall, the programme spans around 2 to 3 week timeline with access to the vendor's product development, delivery and marketing teams, cover off key topics within each of the core capability areas. This includes system demonstrations, use case examples, and scenarios to understand the level of control and configurability within each solution. From an Arum perspective, we're fully flexible on accommodating different ways to facilitate the review in order to minimize the resource requirements from the vendor side, whilst maximizing the knowledge gained throughout. If we use Qualco as an example, we changed the standard agile approach that we have on that to focus on certain areas at key points within the delivery timeline. This was just to ensure that it worked effectively alongside Qualco's implementations that they've got on and the work schedules presently, which is quite a busy period for them. We had interim checkpoint reviews where we highlighted further focus areas and, in fact, certain aspects that were nearing the end of product development to give Qualco a bit of a view from us on what we thought was good, what they were trying to develop, where they were going with it, and overall, where a bit of drill down focus from that side. I'm going to pass over to Guy now to give you a quick introduction onto Qualco, and then followed by Tim, who will give you a demonstration of the QCR solution.
Before we jump into the Qualco stuff, I think it's just all worth talking a bit about the situation we all find ourselves in. I'm sure you've all been on various webinars and events talking about the pandemic, but from a supplier of software into the collection space in the UK and Ireland, I just wanted to highlight some of the things that we've seen, and that I guess that the key things are that the situation is a bit of a perfect storm. As we all know, there are a number of stresses being put onto businesses and organisations across the market. Collections is one of many areas that are under strain, but obviously collections is particularly under strain because perhaps it's been slightly underinvested in historically, which has meant that there aren't sufficient levels of digital and automation, which is creating a really difficult issue. There's a shortage of good people to work in contact centres, so as the debt levels increase, you can't just throw people at the problem. And in fact, people, you can't get hold of the people, but actually the end user customers don't want to necessarily work through a traditional contact centre route anyway. So we've been finding that there's a lot more interest in solutions that deliver automation, deliver digital, deliver omni-channel, but also that can work with different data sets, because traditional data sets are no longer valid, because credit score, for example, is based around, X numbers of months of payment history, when in fact somebody been affected by COVID and they can't work or they haven't got a job anymore. There's all sorts of impacts and differences there that affect how you might deal with them in a collection scenario. So again, as a supplier, we've had to work well with different types of data to try and come up with different ways of scoring and categorizing people and delivering different treatment paths. So that's how we have been doing that. And on that basis, I believe we have a poll question about investment off the back of the pandemic. So, how are we going to handle the challenges brought by the pandemic? Is it just about investing in technology? Is it about digital transformation? Is it about analytics? And I guess those of you taking part in the poll, you have to pick one. You can't pick all three. So, please answer that. Just quickly about Qualco. We've been around a long time. We are headquartered in Greece, which is, in the debt world, like the epicenter of where things went really badly wrong, in the late noughties. And it's meant that by working with the big banks and the government over there, we've had to really develop out software that delivers a lot of solutions to a lot of different product sets across the debt life cycle, across all products in different markets. So, we're a collections focused business, and we're a fast growth business, with lots of customers in multiple countries. And in the UK, we've been around in different guises since about 2012. We have a well-known panel management business called Qualco UK, and obviously we have the software business, which, if we jump through to the next slide, sort of tells us a selection of different things. The Collections Recoveries platform, a decision engine that supports decisioning across the life cycle, a loan management platform for performing loans. We have extensive reporting capabilities, and then we have two different digital solutions, a self-service portal and omni-channel customer engagement. So we're going to touch on some of that stuff shortly. I think we have one more slide. Yeah, so This is over to Tim.
The slide that we can currently see on screen is a typical collections ecosystem that we would expect today. What we're seeing is advanced decisioning, driving customer insight into a collections solution. That insight then helps us to identify things like first time communications and appropriate treatments for customers in arrears. The focus of the demonstration today will be two of the elements that you can see in the ecosystem. The first will be Qualco's omni-channel approach, which has advanced by using social media messaging to help broaden the levels of communication we have with debt collections customers. Also, we're going to take a look at the new award-nominated web-based user interface, which brings a new intuitive web feel around the way the solution looks. Just to give a little bit of background around Qualco's approach to developing new features and functions of our solutions. Generally, it's driven by feedback and requests from customers, very focused on our customers and what they're saying to us. That drives us to work with third-party specialists, which allows us to deliver the most compelling solutions that we can to help our customers. Next slide, please. So, as I was saying, traditional communication methods, letters, emails, SMSs, generally take a fire and wait approach, which doesn't always give us that mutually agreed outcome that we want with our customers, debt collections customers. So the intent of the additional functions that we've developed allow us to open up two-way real-time conversational interactions with our customers through messaging apps such as Facebook and WhatsApp. Firstly, this gives us the benefit of actually instigating the conversation, but also allows us to maybe earlier better understand what the state of play is with the customer who's missed the payment. Next slide, please. So the way the omni-channel engine works with the messaging apps. So if we take it through a journey, we can instigate communication at an appropriate time. So if you imagine when you would pick up your mobile phone during the day, it might be either first thing in the morning to check for messages, or you finish your dinner, sit down in front of the TV and take a look at your phone. So it's really understanding when we can fire these messages off. And the messages could be driven through a dialer style campaign. So just to instigate the initial communication. And then that's driven to an agent who can then continue on with that communication. And hopefully that two-way method of speaking to our customers alleviates some of that awkwardness. The discussions around debt collections, I think we all appreciate, isn't the most comfortable. Anybody who's missed a payment would, we all know that that's an awkward one. So the way this would work is, the customer, the initial message might be, are you aware that you've missed a payment recently? And then the response, maybe no, I wasn't aware. So it might be that it's a genuine reason why the payment was missed. And then moving on to, continuing with that conversation to say, right, well, can you make a payment? The answer might be yes. And in the background, we've got other facilities working which provide translation between the responses that the customer's providing. So if it's a yes or it's an okay, that's a positive outcome. So we might want to drive them through to sending a link out to a payment portal Equally, it might be that there is some issues and they've said they've been made redundant or whatever. So the journey takes a different angle, and it might be that, you might want to perform an income and expenditure capture. So then drive them to a digital customer portal, for example, where that income and expenditure can be captured. And that might then drive further on to setting up a payment arrangement, which is, again, mutually agreeable. Next slide, please. So the real benefit between this sort of communication is obviously it's a more real interactive conversation. It should enable debt collections functions to quickly understand what the state of play is with each customer. It's overcoming the stigma of discussing debt in a more private way in your own living room or whatever it might be. And it allows us to achieve the right first-time levels of communication, so we're actually understanding our customers better, and provides a tailored experience for customers, which is obviously something appreciated. Okay. There is another angle to this, which is a more robotic element. So where the description I've given so far is around interacting with a real-life agent. This could be, to alleviate strain on overworked call centres. It could be driven through an automated workflow where the agent, a robotic agent, is providing the responses and driving you through to an outcome. So that that is a possibility, but obviously the emphasis here is on working with proper agent, a real-life agent. Okay. So the next element in the ecosystem that I'd like to cover off is the Qualco new award-winning user interface. So this has been developed in a very intuitive way with a simple layout, provides agents with a full view of a customer and all accounts that have fallen into arrears against that customer. It also allows drill down capabilities to allow us to further see details around the debt, to allow us to make more detailed and informed decisions. And it also drives the agent to only action the account in what is the best way. So it doesn't just expose a lot of actions to that agent. Based on the state of the account, there will be limited actions that can be performed at that particular time. So give me 1 minute and I will quickly share the UI itself.
Introducing the new Qualco Collections and Recoveries web browser user interface. Following months of research and development, we have updated the Qualco Collections and Recovery System screens by combining leading UI design technology with client input. This results in a modern and intuitive web user interface that simplifies navigation, improves productivity, and powerfully engages users. User logs in. Either you are a manager, supervisor, or an officer. In this dashboard, you may see a snapshot of all the daily actions, whether it's departmental, team actions, or individual ones. From daily tasks and promises to pay to arrangements and authorization requests, in this screen, you have an overview of everything that needs to get done. Search the customer you want and view the search results on a single screen. Pick the case you want and start working. In the new user interface, the left side of the screen stays always in place, enabling you to have easy access to the navigation menu and all the customer details while working on a particular case. Contact details and high-level financial information is always visible on the left-hand side. The agent is also able to view more detailed demographic and financial information by following the respective links. The user can deep dive into the customer's assessment and repayment plans and add information regarding income and expenditure. The software visualizes the outcomes graphically and can also calculate the customer's disposable income. Similarly, the agent can view information about the customer's arrangements and payment plans. Let's see an example. John Smith seems to have 2 active cases in the system, a mortgage and a credit card. So the user can select the preferred case and access more information, such as the queue to which the case belongs, the external agency to which the case is assigned, as well as the key case information, and the log of activities, promises, and payments that have been performed. The user can filter the actions based on keywords, such as the name of a specific user. If the agent wants more detailed information about the case, they can follow the respective link, and if needed, see the collaterals and the pledged real property asset that secures the loan. The user can very easily add new activities. For example, register a follow-up activity on a complaint. The new web UI is designed to help the user navigate easily through the platform and digest information. Using tags, the system visualizes critical information that inquire users' attention. Using tiles, it highlights useful information related to the case or the attached collaterals and real properties. Focusing on the legal officer role and moving back to the dashboard, we will show you how legal processes work. We select the first legal process, a payment order, and we are now directed to the respective screen that includes general information about the specific payment order, the stage the legal process is currently in, and the steps to execute, together with their status. Our legal process is now in the 3rd stage, and let's assume that the legal officer wants to proceed to the next one. The officer, by clicking on the link, can now view the respective steps and move on with the process to the next stage. After confirming, the process now enters the 4th stage. When the legal officer is ready for the end stage and clicks on the link, the system shows the 4 possible process outcomes. The legal officer can pick the preferred outcome, and once confirmed, the legal process is now completed. With its new web browser user interface, Qualco Collections and Recoveries software platform can now deliver an optimized web user experience, improved productivity, reduced support costs, and increased employee satisfaction. Book your full demo at www.qualco.eu.
So basically, we design software with 3 lots of people in mind. The end user customer, so our clients' customers, and we want to make sure that we give them the best offer at any point in time that is most contextual to their circumstances, and we try and do it at the time and through the channel of their choice. But also, if perhaps there's some limited budget around treating certain sections of customers, we capture sort of the costs of engaging with those individuals as well, to make sure that we're sort of managing it as efficiently as effectively for the business as possible. But we have the end user customer. We then have users, and we want our users to be happy and enjoy their job, even though it can be quite difficult emotionally at times, depending on sorts of calls that you're managing and taking. But also, if you're handling 5 or 6 messaging channels as well, that can be difficult. But if we make it as easy as possible for them, and we give them as much information as possible, then hopefully that will make their jobs enjoyable. And by users, we mean end user contact center staff, but also senior administrators, collections managers, collections leadership, etc. And we have a lot of reports and dashboards that make their lives a lot easier. And then finally, there's the main sort of C-suite of the overall business, who really want to understand how they're managing losses, how they're managing at a portfolio level, and can we make large-scale strategic changes to improve the P&L of the collections area and so on. So there are 3 sort of key focus areas when we're building solutions, and hopefully each of those different user types get a lot of benefit from the system. And then the other thing that I think is really, really important is that as a provider, we provide solutions that work across the entire life cycle, from pre-delinquency right through to late stage legal, recoveries, restructuring, repossession, etc. And we automate as much as possible across that, and that we have data coming in from third parties or from systems within an organisation to help us make the best decisions at any particular point in time. So that's what we're trying to do, and what that drives is, of course, it says increase collections there. What it means by is collect more money, reduce roll rates, raise productivity, improve NPS, but also, for me, a really important one is we actually reduce churn within our clients as well. Collectors want to stay and work with the tool, which is fantastic. And of course, compliance is important. So our audit trail means that nothing is missed, everything is captured, and everything is easily accessible. And there's a lot of reports if you want them as well. So that's what we try to do. If
we look at the answers to the first poll question. So the first poll question was, how are you going to handle the challenges brought by the pandemic? And we've had quite a split, but a majority of 67% are coming back saying by investing in digital transformation. Now, from my side and what we do in Arum, that doesn't come as a surprise, given the clients we've worked with in the UK and further afield over the past year. How's that stacking up from your side at Qualco? What are you seeing?
Yeah, exactly the same. Every single pre-sales engagement we have and every single client we have, it's not just about having a digital ability to make a payment or anything like that. It's very much about having the ability to self-service, but also there's transactional activities where perhaps someone can just make a payment or update some information, but then there's that more conversational omni-channel stuff, some of the two-way messaging type stuff, but there's also self-service and customers being able to do a lot of different things via self-service. So we've invested a lot of time and effort on that. We work with a partner, DebtStream, on that, and we believe that that's probably the most intuitive and complete digital self-service experience on the market. And the reason for that is it's designed in such a way that you can do anything through self-service that you could also do on the phone with an agent as well. So that includes making, perhaps having a series of offers that you might select from. It includes signposting for help if you're vulnerable to debt charities. It includes income and expenditure, both detailed and slightly less detailed. And it also includes things like meter readings or just the ability to access a statement. So that's what we're trying to produce, and we do it very collaboratively with our clients, because not all clients want all of those different pieces of functionality. But digital, I think, has been pretty stagnant in the period up to the pandemic, in that there were certain capabilities that people could do. And I think since the pandemic, because of the working from home stuff, but also the need for automation, I think more and more people have focused on it, and the level of capability has got better and better, which is great news for all of us. And I think if you're a modern technology and in your API base, you can use that technology pretty easily, through real-time interfaces and new suppliers coming to the market with different solutions. It's easy for a collections provider, solution providers such as ourselves, to hook into that, which is great.
Thanks, Guy. We've got another question come in as well, overall, which is, given the recent implementation of the breathing space and debt respite scheme, how has the Qualco solution adapted to be able to cater for that for the UK market?
So we have always had the ability to look at customers at a product level, and at a customer level. And in the case of a household, potentially at a household level, in the case of a company, at a company level. And so what that means is that we're not necessarily focusing on one piece of information that says put this person in this particular collections bucket. We're trying to have a much deeper and view of them, and a much richer view of them, and therefore we tend to look at the whole experience, rather the whole status that they're at, rather than where they are on a particular product. So it might even be that we're recommending something like breathing space when actually they're up to date on their payment with this, but we can see from other data sources or for other products that they're actually struggling. So, but also the system is designed in such a way that you can set policies or or strategies in place that say, if the customer meets these criteria, put them into this place. But we don't have to do it at customer level. We can also do it at a product level if that's how organizations want to work. I hope that answers the question.
Brilliant. No, that's good, Guy. And have you found any challenges working with any of kind of the clients so far on different requirements for the breathing space and how they've implemented it through kind of Qualco QCR?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the technical side of it, no problems at all. I think in terms of deciding and making decisions around what should or shouldn't happen, there have been different interpretations of what good looks like, what is appropriate and what isn't, and also actually what is in the customer's best interest, because there's some organizations are worried about sort of kicking the can down the road and not actually solving for anything. But we've also seen quite a lot of broad brush activities, which is if someone asks for it, give it to them type thing, which is fine. You know, there's no right or wrong way of doing this. We're all sort of, you know, kind of getting to grips with it. But we haven't seen a huge amount of consistency in approach. We've seen, you know, different people taking different views on what is appropriate and what isn't, which is quite interesting. Not vastly different, but, you know, there's not been one sort of way we can cookie cutter an approach from one client and apply it to 3 others. That's not the case at all.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. Brilliant. So I think it's for you to just run through the final QCR benefits and talk us through that a little bit, either Guy or Tim.
Yeah, I can take that. Yeah, and obviously this is in line with some of the stuff you put up at the start around the process we've been through with Arum. So some of this stuff is kind of in line with some of the stuff that you were looking at as your assessment as well. But this is also some evidence anecdotal evidence we have from various different clients, not just in the UK, but across Europe. Obviously, whilst the collections industry now is very different to how it's been historically, in that we are all now focused on the best possible journey for our customers and doing the right thing for them. Ultimately, the goal of a collection system is to collect more money where it is available and appropriate to do so. And, you know, any good collection system should improve on that. We're seeing, you know, up to 35% increase in cash collected through the collections channel using this solution. And we tend to get reasonably close to that in almost all scenarios, which is still pretty impressive. And the reason that we're able to do that, I think, is because we are able to treat each customer as an individual, and we are able to make sure using automation that every single customer gets worked appropriately and gets offered the right solution first time. So that's pretty powerful. And because of that automation, we are finding that the level of work allocated per FTE is significantly higher, because they're having to do less things in a journey, and actually many journeys are completely automated. So we are seeing, you know, 3 times more cases handled per FTE. That's reasonably standard for us in a business case. Some other benefits are it's a very scalable up and down solution. So it's in use, for example, you know, in the Greek power company, which has got 7 million plus users. It's also in use in small specialist collections legal firms with 5 users and a handful of very complicated accounts. So that's quite important, because commercially some organizations think a big enterprise collection system is expensive. It doesn't have to be. As I say, we sort of scale up and down to that. We mentioned earlier a lot about customer experience. I think most organizations now have that as an absolute key focus. And, you know, even organizations who historically have sort of just cared about sort of, you know, getting the cash in, they've changed as well. So improved NPS scores is a key goal for us. And, you know, just because someone's in collections doesn't mean they should have a bad experience. That's absolutely really important. We talked about regulatory compliance. The tool lends itself to capturing and delivering every single action in a compliant way. And if regulations change, it's a very configurable tool, so that you can actually change your processes to ensure, you know, that you're meeting regulations. That a simple example of that might be if there's a mandatory piece of script for a certain product that has to be read out at a certain stage, then that would just appear on a screen for an agent to read out, or it would obviously appear as text in self-service, etc. We've talked a lot about operational efficiency. There's certain other benefits that people forget about. So, you know, you reduce the amount of letters you send, and therefore the cost of sending those letters. for example, you actually just reduce the calling volumes because you're doing less calling. There's a less cost there. There's all sorts of those sort of additional things other than FTE savings that come into play. We have a very simple way of uploading cases and segmenting them through the system, which means that if, for example, you're in the debt purchase space, or you're just getting on tranches of new business each month, that just takes care of itself. It's fully automated, and all of those cases will sit in the strategies they should sit in. And then when they reach the end of that strategy, and perhaps you want to hand them across to a third party for further things, they also automatically go through that route as well. And then one that was on your list and therefore is on our list is system of record. So if you are a debt business, you need to be able to run as much of your business collections platform as possible, and that includes the way in which you manage fees that you clients, et cetera, and we have extensive capabilities in that area. Another area that we have extensive capabilities on, which isn't mentioned here, is we have a very large asset and collateral area, which means that any debt lent against any item, a property or a vehicle or whatever, there's a lot of information there about that asset and that property, and then you can use that in decision making about what steps to take next against that debt and how to actually value that debt. And then the system is also developed so that, it says here developed for openness. What this means is that it's actually any part of the system can be available to anyone you choose to give access to, but obviously all of that can also be controlled so that you can only give access to elements in different places. So for example, if you have a third-party legal firm, you might want to give them access to all of their cases in our legal module, but nobody else's cases, of course, and no other cases. But other users might need to be able to see everything because they're senior, and the system is set up in that way so that you can completely control the openness of it, if that makes sense. So that's, we think they're pretty unique benefits to us. And our commercial model, as I said, is quite a powerful one. You can scale it up and down. And then the other thing is actually, well, just for you, the final thing on this is our delivery is pretty consistent. So we're not one of these organizations who say it'll take 6 months and it's 18 months. If we say 6 months, it's 6 months. Anyway, there we go. Right, poll question. Over to you, Owen.
Kind of out to you guys, really. What are the key features that you look for in a software UI and that matters to your business the most overall? We've got a few there: simplicity, intuitive design, usability, and configurability. And Dom will leave that poll open until kind of the end of the session. Hannah, if we just move on to the next slide, please. So one question we usually get asked from vendors, and I know there's a few vendors that have actually joined today's session, and that's why should they join the Arum Approved System program? The simple answer is we've got decades of experience working with collection recoveries technology. We've managed hundreds of product demonstrations, contractual negotiations, and end-to-end system implementations as independent advisors sitting on the client side, and that provides us with intimate and detailed knowledge on how to compete in the credit industry in terms of system capability. The program isn't just the stamp that a vendor would get that they can use on their marketing material, websites, tenders, etc. You get an independent assessment overall of the solution with improvement recommendations based on our industry expertise, insights into what we see as current and future industry trends and requirements. Overall, we will provide a view on which markets we feel your product is more suited towards, if there is a certain direction or vertical that it sits in, and equally discuss in detail development areas for the future growth and reach of the product. So although there's many material benefits of being Arum approved, as you can see on screen there with the marketing slide, there's so many other benefits that you unlock through going through the program. Now, of course, we can't forget the creditor in the journey. We do this for the creditor. That's the whole point. They want the software, they use the software, and we generally sit on the creditor side independently to help them through that end to end. As demonstrated throughout, we hold a vast vendor knowledge base. We've got over 100 different technologies on our database that are used to support the credit industry. And we've been working with creditors in this space for more than 2 decades, leading the credit industry in terms of independent client side advisory support on selecting, acquiring, and implementing new technologies. We have a robust framework as you can see on screen, covering the full end-to-end process when looking to adopt or replace systems and how they link in overall with your organization's technology roadmap. I think finally, before we revisit the poll, I want to thank Guy and Tim for their time today and the entire Qualco team throughout the Arum Approved System program. Their openness on the product has been great for us from a fully independent view, and I wish them success with their product roadmap in the future. Right, should we have a look at the polls overall? So again, another split decision on the answers here, but with just around half of people saying that the usability is actually the most important kind of feature of the UI. So that kind of overtakes simplicity or configurability, and intuitive design didn't even get any votes actually, which is interesting. What do you kind of think of that, Guy, overall, given you?
Well, it's interesting.
Heavily?
I mean, yeah, and I think for me, I like everything to be within one click. So that's what we focused on, and usability is, I think that's part of it. People need to know where things are, and they don't want to be clicking through 4 or 5 tabs to find it. And obviously, all solution providers provide training, but if you get the basics within the training and then you can work out where things are after that, I think that's the way to do it. And I also think that people become conditioned to working with apps, particularly that work well. And certainly we've sort of designed the latest user interface with that sort of app type functionality. It's not actually an app, but it's sort of it's kind of common sense where things might be, and you can scroll down to get further information and so on and so forth. So I completely agree. Usability is absolutely key.
Brilliant. And we've had another question come in as well, Guy, which is what functionality has been built into the Qualco solution overall to determine if either an individual or a business has actually been impacted by COVID, and any specific treatment paths that you guys have in place for that within the system?
Yeah, sure. So the second part of that is relatively straightforward in that if there are a series of activities or actions that our clients have identified that they want to use around COVID, then they can just be built in as data items into our system that can be driven. The identification of them, as in before they even tell us that they have a problem, is a little bit more difficult. And the way we would do that is through a combination of any data that we can get our hands on, whether it's in-house data, if it's perhaps a bank and they're able to share data, or third-party data such as open banking data. From a business perspective, if we have SIC codes and we can perhaps do some at-risk, high-risk, etc. things around those codes, then we could do proactive things around that. But I've got to be honest, so far, most of this has been driven by someone saying, I have a problem. And then once they say they have a problem and they can explain that, we might ask to validate that somehow through open banking, something like that. But most of the time we will take it, or our clients will take it as okay, as genuine, and then they will put them through a plan or a resolution based on the information that they have, whether it's something like breathing space or whether it's some of the deferred payment plan or something like that. But yeah, it's not an easy one to solve.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Guy. Right, that kind of takes us to the end of the session overall. Thanks for everyone for the questions throughout and participating in the polls as well. If there's any questions that anyone wants to ask post the webinar, obviously our contact details are shown on screen. You can reach out to me directly from an Arum perspective, or the Qualco guys as well if you've got specific questions around anything they've gone through today or their product. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Kind of keep your eyes peeled for the next one from an Arum Approved System perspective. We've got another one coming up in November, and then there'll be another one coming up shortly in the new year. Thanks everyone. Thanks guys for.
Thank you everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.